No, he's coming back in. And here's Mr. Isley. They're all in.
Everybody's here?
Yes.
I'm sorry, okay. So we will move to our announcements. The next board meeting is scheduled at 6 p.m. Monday, March 8th, 2021 at the Central Administrative Offices at 511 Harrington Highway in Eden, North Carolina. It'll also be live streamed. The public hearing for the proposed draft budget for 2021-22 year will be held during the regular meeting, March 8th, 2021, during our public comments. A sign-up sheet will be provided for public comments for the public hearing prior to the 6 p.m. start of the meeting. The work session is scheduled at 6 p.m. Monday, March 22nd, 2021 at the Central Administrative Offices at 511 Harrington Highway in Eden, North Carolina. So before we move on to anything else, Dr. Shotwell, could you put the students' pictures up that were, do you have, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can get it.
Can you do that? I want to congratulate some students. We don't have board comments or public comments for our work session, but one of our principals shared with me a press release for the JROTC. McMichael High School had 3 students receiving Air Force Flight Academy scholarships. Jacob Swisher, an 11th grader, and 11th grade Air Force Junior ROTC, Erica Adkins, a 10th grade Air Force Junior ROTC cadet, and Emma Ray, an 11th grade Air Force Junior ROTC cadet at McMichael High School, have received a scholarship to attend an accredited aviation university participating in a private pilot license training program in the summer of 2021. Cadets, what, you found the pictures?
I got enough pictures.
Oh, perfect. Cadets Swisher, Atkins, and Ray are 3 of 230 Air Force Junior ROTC cadets around the world to receive the scholarship from Headquarters Air Force Junior ROTC, Maxwell Air Force Base, Montgomery, Alabama. More than 1,340 cadets applied for one of the 230 scholarships. There are more than 120,000 high school students enrolled in Air Force Junior ROTC at almost 875 schools in the U.S. and overseas. The scholarship covers transportation, room and board, academics, and flight hours required to potentially earn a private pilot license. The scholarship is valued at approximately $22,500 each. The Flight Academy Scholarship is an Air Force level initiative in collaboration with the commercial aviation industry to address the national civilian and military pilot shortage. The Flight Academy allows young, aspiring young aviators to get their private pilot certification at no cost during an 8-week summer course at partner universities. This incurs no military commitment while providing a college transcript. Those who participate in the program do not incur a military commitment to the Air Force or to other branches of service, nor does completing the program guarantee acceptance into one of our military's commissioning programs. The mission of Air Force Junior ROTC is to develop citizens of character dedicated to serving their nation and community while instilling values of citizenship, service to the United States, and personal responsibility and sense of accomplishment. I just want to say on behalf of myself and our school board, Dr. Shotwell and the rest of the staff here at Central Office, congratulations to these 3 students. So with that, I would like a motion from the board to amend the agenda to take action on an interim superintendent and to take this action as the first item of our reports and discussions.
I so move.
I need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. So I would like a motion from the board to approve an interim superintendent's employment contract with Dr. Terry Worrell for an initial term of March 1st to June 30th, and that this contract be made part of the minutes of the board.
I so move.
I need a second.
I'll second.
It's your turn, Bob.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. I would like a motion from the board to approve a resolution about Dr. Worrell's qualifications. And I'm sorry you'll have to listen to me talk this much, but I have to read it to you. The resolution of the Rockingham, well, I need a motion first.
So moved.
I need a second, please.
I'll
Second.
Go ahead.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The Rockingham County Board of Education resolves as follows. Whereas the board has entered into a contract with Dr. Terry Worrell to serve as interim superintendent for the school district, which contract is incorporated into this resolution as if fully set out herein. Whereas the board seeks to formally recognize Dr. Worrell's qualifications to serve as interim superintendent. Now, therefore, the board resolves to make the following findings of fact regarding Dr. Worrell's qualifications to serve as interim superintendent. The board finds that Dr. Worrell has at least 5 years of leadership experience that the board deems relevant to the position of interim superintendent, and she has at least a BA degree from an accredited university. In support of these findings, a summary of Dr. Worrell's qualifications and experience is attached and incorporated herein. This resolution is adopted in open session of a public meeting of the board and shall be reflected on the minutes of the board this 22nd day of March, 2021. Dr. Terry Worrell is a leadership strategist who has successfully worked in education for over 3 decades. She earned her bachelor's degree in education from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, master's degree in human development and learning from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, education specialist degree in education leadership from Appalachian State University, and doctorate in educational leadership from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Dr. Worrell has served as an adjunct professor at Gardner-Webb University, University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and University of the Cumberlands. Terry was Guilford County School Principal of the Year. In 2017, the North Carolina Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development named Dr. Worrell North Carolina's Distinguished Educator of the Year. During her tenure at Asheboro City Schools, she was recognized as a top 10 school district by the Department of Public Instruction, and all schools met or exceeded growth for multiple years. Her team developed and implemented a K-5 dual-language Spanish immersion program and expanded after-school opportunities. In 2019, the governor awarded her the Order of the Longleaf Pine Award for her significant contributions to the state and communities through her exemplary service and exceptional accomplishments. She is passionate about serving her community and empowering children to reach their full potential. Her belief is that early childhood education is essential to helping today's children and tomorrow's workforce achieve economic mobility. She focuses on the social and emotional well-being of children and educators by designing supportive trauma restorative practices that improve resiliency. She served on the Board of Examiners for Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award Program, President of NCASD, and as a Board of Trustee for the North Carolina Center of Advancement for Teaching. Dr. Worrell enjoys spending time with her family and friends, hiking, traveling, as well as spoiling her cocker-poodle, named Jake. And currently, Dr. Worrell is president of Magnolia Education Science, LLC, specializing in strategic leadership. Dr. Worrell, can you swear you in?
So you have a motion and you have a second, you need to vote on the motion.
Okay, so give me the motion again. With the second?
Second.
This is to pass the
To
resolution.
pass the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I, just repeat after me. I, Terry Worrell, swear or affirm that I will well and truly execute.
I, Terry Worrell,
Swear or affirm
swear or affirm
that I will well and truly execute
that I will well and truly execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of interim superintendent
of interim superintendent
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All righty.
Can we please have an approval of the agenda?
I so move. Approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we will now move to the reports and discussion items. Dr. Ellis and Dr. Shotwell are up for the CARES, for the safety update.
Yes, we are. Turn my computer just a little bit your way here. It's hard to believe that we were almost beginning to experience COVID-19 this time last year. We heard stories. We heard things were happening in other states. Little did we know that in 3 weeks we would have been watching our last either away or home baseball game, softball game, track meet. You are getting ready for your musical, getting ready for your band concert, and all that came to a screeching stop. I just want to say before we get into this report how proud I am of how our teachers not only have conducted themselves but have worked diligently to make sure that our kids are learning during this time. It has not been perfect, but I can tell you one thing, that I would put our teachers up against anybody in this state for the effort and care that they have been able to show our children. And for that, I am so proud and grateful to work with such a fine group of educators. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it now back over to Stephanie for sports.
Thank you, Dr. Shotwell. I would echo the same comments that you just said, and I think our staff and our teachers, our administrators have really, truly worked so hard throughout COVID-19 to keep our students safe and remain focused on what matters most, which is our children. And so we thank you too for all of your support through through COVID-19. And thank you to the Board of Education as well for your support through COVID-19. This has been challenging. And so we look forward to providing you some updates about our RCS Cares About Your Safety plan. So I'd just like to say good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Education. Thank you for your time tonight. As you will recall, this is our information that we have posted on our RCS Cares About Your Safety section. We continue to update that as we have new information available, and we'll continue to do that moving forward for as long as we need to around COVID-19. So if you'll go, Dr. Shotwell, to the next slide. As our Board of Education knows, we've been discussing vaccines a lot this weekend as you've been given lots of updates, but I do want to share with you all and our community, we do have our updated Rockingham County Schools vaccine drive-through clinic that will be held by the Health Department. Due to the significant weather challenges that occurred across the nation last week, pretty much all of the vaccines that were arriving for Rockingham County Schools Health Department were coming out of Texas. And as you know, that has also been widely hit by the winter weather and the winter storms. So those were greatly delayed across the whole United States. So the health department was not able to complete the vaccine clinic that we originally had planned on February 24th and also March, and because of that, that would affect the date for March 31st as well. Because in the process of that, there is a shortage now of Moderna vaccines and an increase in Pfizer vaccines, which are both equally as effective. And so what has happened is they had to switch the Pfizer, which changes the date and the range of in between when you're able to get your second dose. And so our first dose clinic is scheduled for Sunday, March 7th, and also our second dose clinic is Sunday, March 28th. And we do recognize Sunday is an interesting day, but because of the scheduling issues by the health department and some of the other conflicts that they have had arise, with getting the shipments in, those were the dates that were made available to us. And so we have a FAQ link that individuals can type in who are participating in those vaccine links. We also sent additional information if anybody wants to get their vaccines independently of this clinic. They can go, it's our understanding from our health department that, places like Eden Drug, Annie Penn, Cone Health, Walgreens, different areas like that are now starting to get vaccines in the next upcoming week, even more so than before. So they can also go potentially and sign up on the Rockingham County Health Department website at one of the clinics there potentially as well if they don't want to participate in this particular vaccine clinic. But we do have 966 individuals signed up. That does include Moss Street Partnership School. And so as you know, all of this really was made possible because on February 10th, the governor indicated educators and our staff would be able to be included in that phase 2 category. So there's our infographic. We have shared this on Facebook and shared that obviously with all of the staff that are involved and had signed up. Just as a reminder, we completed that January interest survey. We had a February waitlist survey, a substitute tutor and other contract staff list. We even extended some of those to give people more opportunity to sign up, even past the extension time. And then also we included Moss Street Partnership School. And we've had 11 collaboration meetings with the health department around these vaccine clinics. So we continue to work hard and collaborate, and we appreciate the support from our health department that we've had throughout this whole year. So just a little bit of information that we wanted to share about vaccine updates and research. And Dr. Shotwell, if you're able to go to that next slide. There you go. Just in case anyone was wondering about this or needed some additional information, we wanted to share that vaccine clinics really have been, the way this is, or not vaccine clinics, excuse me, COVID-19 vaccines, the way they're developed, really have been around for some period of time. So while it's a new vaccine for COVID-19, the method is not particularly new, and it's been studied for decades. So more than 70,000 people have volunteered in the clinical trials for Moderna and Pfizer, and it's an mRNA vaccine, not a DNA vaccine. And so if you can look at those pictures there, what really happens is that vaccine develops a protein like that helps form antibodies that then fight against the virus. And so we just have a really quick, it's only like a minute and a half, just synopsis of how those COVID-19 vaccines work. So Dr. Shotwell, if you can click on that upper right-hand corner, we'll be able to show that just quickly how those work.
mRNA vaccines have been in development for 20 years and are now approved to prevent COVID-19. Unlike some other types of vaccines, the mRNA vaccine teaches our own cells to make the quote-unquote spike protein found on the surface of the coronavirus, triggering an
It's usually a very lengthy process.
In March of 1963,
Where are you?
immunity. That sounds great, right? But I bet you're thinking, how exactly does this work? Well, it works by simply reproducing the same immune response that happens in a natural infection, but without actually infecting your body. Cool, right? Still,
I can't.
Perceptions about this vaccine. So let's break them down. Number one, this type of vaccine is new, but it's not unknown. Research and development of these vaccines have gone on for decades before this pandemic. Number two, these vaccines do not affect or interact with your DNA, and the mRNA never actually enters the nucleus of the cell. Number three, while the vaccine does have some side effects, like the potential for fever and soreness, they do not infect your body with the coronavirus. Side effects after vaccination are not common. Number four, yes, if you have recovered from COVID-19, you should still consider a vaccine. We still don't know how long immunity to the virus lasts. Number five, vaccination, along with face masks, social distancing, and hand washing, is key to resume social gatherings and reopen the economy. Got more vaccine-related questions? Leave them in the comments.
I'm sure it's user error. I'm sure it's my fault. Are we done?
What's coming up next? We need to stop. All right.
So where are we? Going back to the slide?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll quit playing videos here.
This is it right here. No. Okay.
Huh? I know we do.
Here we go.
All right.
Sorry about
So
that.
that's okay. That's all right. Well, it's there for anyone who would like to view a little bit more. It explains a little bit more about the development of the vaccine for Moderna and for Pfizer. And COVID-19 vaccines really just safely increase your body's natural ability to fight against the virus. So you cannot get COVID-19 from the virus. That's the main important thing. Just we want to make sure folks understand that, and just wanted to be able to have some information there just for others, even if they wanted to be able to research a little bit more. So we can keep going. We do want to thank the James Austin Health Clinic and also Justin Cade through Cone Health and Billy Crumpton through the James Austin Health Clinic, also known as Compassion Healthcare. We continue to have COVID-19 mobile testing vans every Friday at one of our 4 traditional high schools. That way it's in the zone of each of all of our many of our communities, and individuals can go there between 9 to 11. So the weather did impact that COVID-19 testing last Friday, but you can click there and see our schedule that is offered every single Friday all the way through April, and that just provides more opportunity for individuals if they need COVID-19 testing moving forward for our community. So we appreciate their partnership very much. In addition, as many of you saw coming into the board meeting tonight, and we had this at our last board meeting, we also want to thank Compassion Healthcare for the wonderful fever defense temperature screening devices. And so we posted a video on our Facebook and also shared pictures, and we truly thank Compassion Healthcare for providing one of these for each of our schools. And so this temperature screening device is over $3,000, almost $3,000 a piece, and they donated these not only for us to have one for our board meetings, but for each Rockingham County school. So we are so thankful for that. And I'd like to give a shout out to Huntsville Elementary for their video that they used when they set theirs up. You can go to our Facebook page and see that. They did a really great job. And also I'd like to give a shout out to Central Elementary. They actually named their temperature device Senti Cub and gave it a name tag. So anyway, so our schools have these in operation, and we're excited, for as we continue to operate and have our schools entering, our students entering our schools every day. This is a great way to be more efficient as we're having to complete those required health screening temperatures. So thank you for sharing that. And then I know the board wanted to have just a couple of updates for data, and I'll be glad to answer any further questions that you need to about this. But just quickly, our COVID-19 statistics are moving in the right direction with our positive test for the state of North Carolina at 6.1%. If you'll go to the next slide, you will see that this is current as of today. You can sort of see our trend from 10/26, we were at 7.8%, and then during that Christmas time, all the way through January and February, it remained pretty high. January it was 15.4%. It dropped in February 8th to 8%, and today it is at 4.9%, which is heading in exactly the right direction we would like to see for percent of positive tests. So that is great news, and as we get ready to reach in our vaccine clinics and have even more access to that vaccine, we're very excited in the direction this data is going as well. And I did just include for you all our table. We've shared this with you all each time, and it's actually updated just to reflect those. And if you're wondering where some of those numbers came from, it has the hyperlinks in there for you. So you can feel free to ask any questions. And we appreciate your time, and thank you so much for your support. I do really appreciate, and I want to acknowledge our board for signing the resolutions for our staff for vaccines. We appreciate that. Our staff appreciates that so much. The resolution that you signed at the last board meeting to help provide teachers access to the vaccines, we are truly grateful for that. So we just wanted to say thank you, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that we can for you.
Do you have any questions? Dr. Ellis, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that some of our principals are concerned. What, if any, support is going to be provided if multiple staff members are out with a fever following that second dose, now that we have 2 student days rather than work days and a holiday?
I think, that's something that not everyone will experience those symptoms. Certainly some people can. They've seen that. They have had greater amounts of individuals not experiencing those symptoms. So I think, staff just needs to report if they are starting to feel those symptoms and follow that typical process. I think, we certainly would want to support staff in that, and do our very best to provide that opportunity to take a day if that's something that is impacting them following that Monday. So I'm sure that it would have to be creative planning if it was a large majority of individuals, but I think given that it's on a Sunday, that is the time our health department shared with us to be able to reschedule those vaccines.
I think the concern was just for the amount of subs that we currently are able to utilize because of COVID. Any other questions? Anything else? Yeah, I think everybody's good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. So we will move right along to 4.2 and talk about kindergarten registration. Ms.
Good
Neely?
evening, Madam Chair, board members. This is June Neely. Hope you're all doing well. We are getting ready to go into kindergarten registration season for the 21-22 school year. And the flyer here is announcing that our window where we will be doing targeted registration is beginning on April the 12th at all of our elementary schools. And we will be targeting registration through May 7th. Always, families can register their students after the May 7th date, but we encourage anyone who can to register as early as possible, because this will give us the benefit of knowing more about our numbers coming into kindergarten in the upcoming year. And we also know that there are probably some families that decided to perhaps wait a year with everything that was going on with COVID. And we encourage any eligible families for kindergarten to go ahead and register. That will help us with our planning as we move forward. Also, if you will scroll down a little bit on that flyer, we will be having Kindergarten 101 webinars. In the past, we've had these out in the community face-to-face, and unfortunately, we're not able to do that this year. However, we will be holding 3 different webinars, and they will be on March 2nd at 6 p.m., March 9th at 6 p.m., and March 16th at 10 a.m. And if you would go back and click on the Kindergarten 101 flyer. I think it's the last one.
Okay, sorry about that.
Sorry.
There we go.
There we go. This just gives a little information about what we will cover, and this information is posted on the Rockingham County Schools website. There is a quick link button about kindergarten registration, and we'll be talking about kindergarten academics, registration, transportation, child nutrition, medical requirements, and summer activities to help with kindergarten readiness for families. So we do strongly encourage our families of rising kindergarten students to take part in participating in one of these webinars so that they can get more information about what's coming up beginning April 12th.
Does anybody online have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Daly. I think everybody's good. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome, and you guys feel free to sit in on one as well. We're going to have the opportunity for question and answer as well during the webinar. Ms. Covell is going to be helping me with that, so feel free to join us for one of those.
Thank you. Have a good night. I can't tell if she's still there or not. Okay, so we will move right along to item 4.3, our early college draft calendar. It's the first reading. Dr. Perkins.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Shotwell. You have before you the draft of the Rockingham Early College High School calendar. Mr. Vernon and his school leadership team worked with the RCC in following their RCC schedule. This calendar has 175 student days. It begins as first day for students on August the 10th, and the first teacher work day is August the 2nd. And where possible, Mr. Vernon and his leadership team tried to connect the calendar with the traditional calendar in places where it would align. But we bring it to you for first reading, and we'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any. And we will bring it back to you in March for approval for second reading.
Anything?
Parents will be able to make comments and ask questions like they do with the traditional. Is that right, Dr. Perkins?
They can comment. There's not a whole lot of flexibility we have with this calendar because of we have to follow RCCs, but we will make it available for comment.
Thank you.
I guess that's everything. Anything else? Thank you, Dr. Perkins.
Thank you.
I guess you're up next for strategic plan.
Yes, ma'am. Given the transition that the district is going through, and also knowing that we have ended our last strategic plan cycle and we want to begin planning for the next round, we want to just bring up for discussion tonight and for your consideration, maybe focusing on a shorter strategic plan while we go through this transition, maybe a 12 to 18 month strategic plan. And during that time, the board could develop, its direction and focus for not only the transition period, but for anything that is long-term coming up as well. We know we've heard from individuals in the past few months about the desire to give feedback to the board, and we could establish advisory groups, whether that be parent, teacher, community advisory groups, and hear from them as we begin to establish these goals for the board. And I know I had a conversation with Ms. Rakestraw. I think she has been designated potentially as a liaison and working with staff through this process. And Ms. Rakestraw, I'll be glad for you to add any comments that you may want to add as well.
I personally like the idea of the shorter time frame, so that we can come together. We keep talking about this new direction, and being that we're in transition of looking for a new superintendent as well. I mean, I just think it's a good opportunity for us to not get too far and be able to really focus on what our expectations are and what we're looking for, and to hear from groups like the teacher advisory group that we were talking about that was suggested to us. I think that's a great idea. We could do that with parents and community and even students too. I think so if we could plan that for the next 12 to 18, how that will look, then those groups will be able, in my brain, Dr. Perkins and board, in my brain, that doing that over the next 12 to 18 months, that those groups will put together that 5-year plan. Does that make sense? So we'll come together. So Dr. Perkins, I know when we talked about maybe for the March board meeting, staff have like a schedule or like a timeline of what that's going to look like for the board, so the board can, so we can stay on task as well.
Yes, ma'am. With the board's direction tonight, we would propose coming back to you at the March work session with a proposed timeline for work during the next 12 to 18 months. And I would love if there would be another board member that may want to volunteer to assist Ms. Rakestraw and I in this. If you are willing to do that, please let me know or reach out to me, and we'll be glad to involve you in this as well. But we would bring back in March 22nd work session a proposal and plan that would kind of guide the work over the upcoming months.
Dr. Perkins,
Yes.
this is Ms. McKinney. I will be glad to help you and Ms. Rakestraw.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So does that sound like a plan moving forward for us to work on a proposal, bring it back to you at the March work session?
I think that sounds great.
I agree.
Yeah, I fully agree. The shorter plan.
And we can certainly involve Dr. Worrell in that process as well.
Everybody's nodding.
Okay.
I can see.
That's what we will do. We will come back to you at the next work session with a more detailed plan.
Thank you, Dr. Perkins.
Thank you.
So we will move right along now to item 4.5, the transfer of capital funds for maintenance vehicles. Dr. Parks?
Good evening, Dr. Shotwell, Madam Chair, Board of Education. As I discussed at the last board meeting, we are in need of maintenance vehicles. The average age of our fleet is 19 years old. On this memo, you will see listed 9 trucks that range anywhere from 204,964 miles to 344,479. These are the 9 trucks that need to be replaced as soon as possible. There are lots of issues with these trucks, and a lot of our maintenance guys do not feel safe in the trucks, and so we would like to replace these 9, as well as the mail van and a dump truck. Mr. Stoffel is on the line as well, and he can talk with you about the quotes that we received from the state contract.
Yes, good evening. These are just, we got the pricing right from state contract, and they come from Capital Board, I believe is still the vendor. And then we actually buy the work bodies from a different vendor, and Capital Board facilitates us getting them put on. But these are state contract pricing for all these vehicles and the work body.
Mr. Stoffel, can you please explain the situation with the dump truck, with the, well, just in general health of it?
Well, I mentioned last board meeting that our dump truck, we no longer have to have an inspection because it's a yearly inspection on it because it's considered an antique now. When we go to use the dump truck or, several pieces of our equipment, we have to work on it for half a day before we can even use it. Last time we had to tire out the air cleaner on it just to get, and jump it off just to get it to run. It's just, it's daily a struggle for us to have equipment to use that's that old. Does that answer your question, Dr. Shotwell?
Yes, sir. I mean, like anytime we ever need to, take the track hoe or, anything of heavy equipment, it's hit or miss. I mean, to be quite honest, I think you're putting some people in potential harm. And
it's definitely not a good situation. Anytime that if we hold, we can actually, fortunate that our Bobcat weighs, doesn't weigh as much as other equipment, so we can pull it behind a pickup truck. But the backhoe, that we have to pull it with a dump truck, and we have to have a Class A CDL in order to pull it because of the weight.
Ms. Rexter.
Yeah, I have a question, Dr. Parks, or I guess Dr. Parks. Where are you suggesting that the $461,000 come from?
I'm requesting that it come from local funds into capital, and we would, next meeting, need your approval, and then we would have to get the county commissioners to approve this as well.
And
it's like what we do with our activity buses.
so
I see this
coming from
as
the general?
No,
No.
it'd be coming from fund balance.
From I meant fund balance. I don't know why.
Yes, ma'am.
From fund balance.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Isley.
question for Dr. Parks and Mr. Stoffel. We're looking at $462,000. Can we break this down and instead of doing, I think it's 10 vehicles listed here, do 4 at a time so we can spread this out over time? I wish we kind of had done this prior to this instead of having 22 vehicles all coming at one time. I'm thinking it might be good to help us as far as funds and not take such a big hit and do maybe 4 vehicles and 1 being the dump truck. I think that one is the one that, and there were a couple of others too. Pick out the 4 worst out of this top 10 and do this incrementally over time instead of taking $500,000 hits.
That's certainly the pleasure of the board.
No.
I'm just bringing the information to you about the board a year ago in a presentation stating that we had vehicles that were in bad shape and that our maintenance guys were saying that they felt like their lives were in jeopardy driving these vehicles. Brought it to your attention again, and this was just the plan that we felt like needed to be brought to you, but we certainly will work at the pleasure of the board.
I just know if we'd had snow this year, some of these trucks would have had the RIP.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think we should put anybody in danger. Our employees are very important. And if they're out on the roads, and especially bad weather, as Dr. Shotwell says, we need to take care of those people. if this has been on the agenda for a year,
Yes,
I think we need to move and do something. I really do.
I agree, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with Mrs. Austin. We shouldn't put our maintenance men in danger, and that is putting them in danger. You know, we eventually gonna have to spend the money anyway. So, you know, these trucks are on their last leg. So I think it's time we did something about it. This, like Ms. Austin said, this has been on our docket for a year. It's time to do something, especially with the dump truck. I know when I was at Mall Street, they had to pull a backhoe or something over there with it. They had to work on it to get it to leave. So I know what they're talking about. So I think we need to go ahead and get this done. We don't need to procrastinate.
Any other comments? Anything else? Any other questions? Dr. Parks, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So you're up next for the energy performance contract.
So tonight I have with me Daniel Bowles. He is going to talk with us about our energy performance contract. Daniel, welcome. Daniel, we can't hear you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I understand the space. That's what it was.
Yeah, sorry, I was just talking away. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Madam of the Board. I'll start over. I want to kind of go through this presentation that we developed for the ESPC project. You could roll into the agenda there. Basically, the agenda is the same as we've done in the past. You know, we start out with the scope of work, project milestones, schedule, and some project pictures of where we're at in the project. Go ahead and move on to the project scope there. Thank you, Dr. Shotwell. So right here we have just the standard project scope that we discussed before, kind of detailing which school gets what. You know, it's pretty basic for all the schools for lighting and water conservation. And then you'll see, you know, the two oddballs there. That's for the Dillard Academy. That's the HVAC upgrades and the Rockingham High School installation. Pretty standard there. If you want to move into the project milestones, we'll start with lighting. This is the ECM lighting retrofit. This is schools that we've finished, accepted, and walked down with ECG in the district and moving along. You'll see we got a good list there. We've got you know, some ones that are not included on this list. We have a lot more. We've started punch out for lighting. So over the next month, we're going to be finishing up punch list, but we're pretty much done with the ECM 1A lighting as well. You guys will see us around in your schools there, and we're going to try to punch it out and get it completed and walk down and signed off as well. All right, so the next, we're going into ECM 13 water conservation, and again, this is another list. This is not all inclusive. This is just some that I added where I had room for it, but you'll see that water conservation, we have all of these accepted. Now, we're not as close to finished on water conservation as we are on lighting, but you'll see there that we do have a good bit of them walked down and working through some of the issues and punch list items on some of the other schools. Okay, so project milestones, this is for ECM 4C Dillard. So we have, you know, we have one discrepancy in here. The final commissioning, we had it scheduled for 2/18. Well, we had some issues with, you know, you guys know the winter storms and everything, so we actually moved this up to this Thursday. So this Thursday, if everything goes good, we'll have all of the Dillard HVAC upgraded, signed off, tested, and commissioned and running. So we're looking forward to getting that one done as well. Okay, so we're moved down here. This is, you know, this is the same as we had last month. This is one of the first ones we finished. This is the McMichael water meters. Very well job, went off without any hitch, and that's really good to save you some water. And again, the insulation repairs, we left the slot in here. It was completed last year. Went off pretty good, no issues there. All right, let's talk about the project schedules. This is kind of a time lapse of the schedule, just an overview, a 30,000 foot level view. Excuse me, you'll see that, we're finishing lighting up, like I said, over the next 3 weeks. I'm trying to finish it earlier, but if not, it looks like we got around April. I'm thinking that we're going to be right around the beginning of April with the news that I got over the last week and where we're at, with us totally wrapping up and starting the performance period in June. So I think we're going to pull that back. It shows July. We're going to show that back a month. So everything's running ahead of schedule now, and it's getting better each week. We had to man up on the water crew, so that's going to go pretty quick as well. Okay, if you want to roll through the lighting pictures, and these are just, these are not in any order or any school. I just kind of threw some pictures in to try to show you some before and afters. And you'll see, you see the befores versus the LED lighting, how much brighter it is. It's cleaner. We're running on a 4500K Kelvin scale on the lighting, so it's just a lot brighter. It's going to be really well for the kids and everybody, in a learning environment. Here's some Dillard HVAC upgrades. You'll see all of the new equipment in there. That room you couldn't even see before. It was so crowded. Now we've got it slimmed down with the new equipment. We've got new lights in here, LED lights. It's really bright. It's really clean. It's safe for the guys to go in there and work out. Once we get those finally commissioned, and this summer it'll be nice to see the equipment running. And again, this is just some more pictures of us on our pre-commissioning, and before we started final commissioning, we got 2 phases, of course, on phase 3. So we're just wrapping up some. I'll put some pictures in there, and then we're into water conservation at Bethany. So, and these we had the schools already up there, so you'll see, and again, they're just random pictures of the process. Some different stuff that we found, and stuff that we've done and repaired. We've had to repair a lot of flanges and a lot of the wall studs and bolts, and you'll see that the guys are really doing a good job at getting that old equipment out and new equipment in. And again, some more pictures here of water conservation, just some completed stuff. And again, some more completed pictures there. So, all in all, with what we're going, we've got 2 ECMs done now. We're getting ready to finish lighting over the next month and a half. Water conservation, 2 months behind, from now, we should be done with that. And of course, Dillard trying to finish up in the next week, and that'll take care of those ECMs. As far as the project's going, we've not had any serious hiccups, just construction-related hiccups, stuff that we plan for and prepare for. But other than that, we haven't had anybody get sick. We've not had any COVID scares. I'm really happy with that. So we just continue maintaining our social distancing and our practices. All right, this is question and answers. Does anybody have any questions for the ESPC project?
It looks great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Yes, sir. You too.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Rodney. Dr. Shotwell.
Done an outstanding job with this, and you're an outstanding construction manager. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Dr. Parks.
Pleasure to work with you every day.
Yes, ma'am. The pleasure's all mine.
So we have our service agreement with Johnson Controls, Dr. Parks.
So every 2 years, I bring to you a service agreement with Johnson Controls. This is a 2-year agreement. This will start on April 1st, 2021, and it will go to March 2023. This is an annual sum of $481,532. This price reflects on-site personnel of 3 technicians at 40 hours per week to perform maintenance services on our HVAC equipment. And so this is just continuing those services, those outsourcing services with Johnson Controls. So I just wanted you to review this, and I'll be bringing this to the March board meeting for approval of this service agreement.
trying to
Certainly
click on
having-
it so everybody can see it.
Yeah, if you have any additional questions, you can certainly give me a call prior to the next meeting, but again, it's just the same type of agreement that we have done with Johnson Controls every 2 years.
Any questions? Okay. Dr. Parks, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay, so we will move on to the student assignment timeline, 4.8. Dr. Parks?
Okay, and this is just an announcement to our community families that we will begin on Tuesday, March 23rd. Anybody that would like to
Internet connection, I think.
to our schools, then can start filling out the new reassignment applications. As stated in policy, all applications are due by May 1st. So we will start getting this information out on social media, as well as getting alert now messages out to our families.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Parks. So I think we will now move into our closed session. Do y'all need a break for just a second? Joe, take a little break. So can we take a 10-minute break and come back? And then we will move into closed session.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Isley.
I'll take. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Isley.
did you want me to move, go ahead and read the closed session motion?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for
Any
doing that.
Yes, ma'am. In accordance with General Statute 143-318-11, I move that we go into closed session in order to adhere to the following subsections of A, item 1 and 6, to preserve confidentiality and to discuss specific employee considerations and the language therein.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, we will re-adjourn in 10 minutes. Let me set my watch, okay?